Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. Happy Halloween Horror Month to you, and thank you for tuning in to my stories. Today, I am back to read Chapter 2 of Bloodline Curse for your enjoyment. I invite you to sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Aren't you tired of the drama? You use your words like they are knives. I don't need that type of drama and trying to be tough all the damn time. You try to make yourself feel better by taking me down. Once I fell, but now I'm strong. I'm ready for the rematch. Shoot me down, don't you know I get up? Yeah, baby, I will fight. No, there ain't nothing stopping me.
King Ormond. The blood on my hands cannot be washed off. I had held the young child in my hands, watched as her little eyes rolled in the back of her head, and her last gagged breath said, "Mommy." My heart sank, thinking, what if it was my daughter? The mother had been buried the week before, and the father was losing stool and life beside the daughter. An entire family, gone within a blink of an eye. My hands trembled as Ulrich came to take the girl's body from me and handed me the alcohol to sterilize my hands. "My king," a soft voice came from behind the curtains of the camp. I walked and pushed it aside as a young man with hollow eyes looked at me with a pale face. He was lying on a cotton bed, soiled with yellow stools, and I immediately put up the cloth to shield my face. "My king," he whispered, "a last moment to speak my words." "I am here," I said. "What words shall I relay to your family?" His eyes filled with tears as he whispered, "Not my family, my bride." My heart sank. I am a selfish man. I have made her a bride and a widow at the same time. My king, what words do you think she would want to hear? I thought of my woman back at home, my woman who was currently despising me for the choices I made, but the woman who was my heart and soul. I replied with, "I think she would like to hear how much you love her." A ghost of a smile appeared on his face, and a tear dropped down the corner of his eye. "My king, the world is wickedly cruel. It gifted me the woman to carry my children, and then forced me to lie here and watch her live while I die. What did I do wrong?" I couldn't answer him. He let out a groan as I heard liquid gushing from his bottom. "My king, tell my bride that I love her more than life itself, and that I will be waiting for her at the pearly gates when she walks ever so beautifully toward me. We shall pick up our life there." And then his eyes turned to me, and with a half smile, he stopped breathing. "May God be with you." I entered the palace halls and rid of my clothes, burning them as I sat in the barrel of hot water, washing myself. The young man's last thoughts lingering on my mind as my heart felt heavy. My hands were shaking as I rubbed them with water that didn't seem to help stop my pain. A pair of hands reached around my neck, and I recognized them as the woman I loved. She bent down and wrapped her arms around me closer, and her lips touched my cheek. "My king," she whispered, "hear my plea of apologies." I reached up to touch her arm. "Why do you come to me with utters of apologies? I never want my woman to apologize." A sob was heard, and she leaned down on me. "I followed you tonight." I jerked around and grabbed her arm to pull her down lower. Her eyes held this soft, unspoken truth about what she saw, and my hand immediately reached for the swollen belly. "Why would you risk this?" I asked. "I needed to see why you chose to go to the east for help. I've been behind locked doors and palace walls, my king, and the fear I see and know is only of talk. Tonight I saw with my very own eyes as the young man took his last breath. She broke down. I know why you did what you did. I understand. She sobbed, and I pulled her into my arms, lifting her to join me in the water. The sobs that escaped from her tore at my heart as I reached over and touched her back, drawing circles to soothe her. My queen, never once again follow me into such terrains as that. Your safety and that of my son is my main concern. But it can take you away from me, she whispered. I am a lot stronger than you are. But if it were to come to you, I would be weakened to a state of no mind and words. Please, never put me through that fear again. She pulled away. My king, the air is thick with death. Can the Eastern people really heal this? I do not know, but I have to believe that they can. She lowered her face, at the cost of you sharing your body with her, and then her eyes met mine. I am willing to allow it, as long as the people can be saved. Give her a son, so our kingdom can be married with laughter and life again. I have missed the sounds of celebrations, and I loathe the sound of the drum wars. I embraced her and inhaled her sweet scent. She was my perfect woman in place of peace. My queen, you are the sunshine that brings me warmth.
You came in like a storm with no warning, swept me off my feet. It was a deadly dance, and I knew if I stayed, I would never leave. 'Cause you had my heart in your hands, soft like a summer, and then it was a deadly dance, and I knew if I stayed, I wouldn't stand a chance. Thunder, lightning.
Queen Wilhelmina. My heart was beating fast as the people of the kingdom bore my husband hatred glances. He had announced their ally with the East, and the Prime Minister had asked him to be denounced as king. The dark eyes of everyone stared at both me and him as the whispers were heard around. I could see the heated rise and fall on my husband's chest as he tried to control his anger. My king, what value would they add to this that we have not already tried? One of the council members asked. Your father would be ashamed of your choices. How dare you to make such a treaty without the consult of your people? He stood up and slammed his hand down on the table. The council member who had spoken sat down so fast that his chair tipped over. He was helped to sit up by another, and his cheeks flamed red as he settled down again. What value have you given me, council? My husband asked as he walked toward them. My people are dying night and day, turning this village into a funeral parlor, and all you have given me is to look upon the stars and moon, asking for relief from this curse. What magic is that? It does not solve anything, and I am exhausted from burning the bodies. You are not the ones whose hands are covered in blood and dirt. It is mine. So do not stand there and tell me what to do. Everyone remained silent as his shoulders heaved heavily. Perhaps this was the last straw to make them and us become allies. Perhaps this is the way of the universe telling me I need to let bygones be bygones and strike a deal with someone whom my forefathers have banished. Perhaps they did not pay the price and forbid us to ever seek their help. What evidence do you have of this? A member asked. Smiling, King Ormond replied, The village people who live in the east are all women. There was a small gasp of shock. No man has ever set foot, nor takes up residence there. The price they have asked is a bloodline from us to them. And who will we send to them? What rightful man shall complete this task? I will, he said. They have asked for none other but me. There was a commotion of whispers, and he brought up his hand to silence them. It is my choice, and I shall give them what they want. My queen, a council member asked, you stand next to this man of yours? His idea is not only wrong, it is inhuman. I stood up and walked to them where I took my husband's hand. Council members, how many of you have chambermaids who have birthed your bastards? No one answered, but their cheeks turned red. From the count of blushed cheeks here, I can safely say almost every one of you has a bastard sitting in a village home with a commoner for a mother. What difference is this from what my husband is doing? For the sake of your country and livelihood, I can see past this. Why can you not? It is I who shares the bed with the king, and not you. Your mere purpose is to agree and nod. The members all lowered their heads, and my husband reached over to take my hand. My queen speaks my heart. Who now dares to say more? Everyone became silent. I thought so. On the morrow eve, Kwang, their leader, will arrive at the kingdom palace walls. She and her army will go abroad the ship to inspect and see what she can find. If anyone dares to harm her or stand in her way, it is my sword that will meet your death. One of the council members stood up and came to stand before us. My king and queen, what you both have sacrificed is for the greater good of our country. I understand. But for the sake of your people, what will you do if hell should unleash? That question is not to be ignored, Your Majesty. My husband took a moment of silence before he responded. I shall go down with hell, Council. Let history record me as a king who bypassed all the laws the forefathers set forth in stone. But if this should rid of the plague and bring us peace, let me be the one whose tongue rave about it when it comes to saving lives. What dare say you? The council member's face turned ashen, and he let out a deep breath. I will hold my tongue, my king. I fear that whatever words I have to say will be worthless, as you have made up your mind. I shall speak on behalf of all of us when I say this. If nothing goes wrong, we will bow on our knees and sing your name with glee. If hell breaks loose, it will be your head on a spike. The king smiled and replied, Council, you need no worries. I shall be the one to hand you my own head. King Ormond. The night sky was thick with fog as I repaired the men and horses by the dock. I knew that within a short time, Kwang and her army of warriors would be arriving soon. My men were equipped with swords, and the ship that had brought death was still in the waters, a mere 5 feet away. My king, will they be arriving by ship? One of the men asked. Before I could answer, I heard the loud flapping of wings, and the wind began to pick up. The men withdrew their swords as we prepared for the unknown. A loud roar echoed across the sky, and suddenly it thundered and lightning cracked, causing one of the tree branches to fall. It just missed one of the horses, and it neighed with fright, running off back toward the palace. The fog parted, and through the rain, I saw the large green wing of a dragon that held Kwang standing on his head with a whip. She let out a laughter, and we began backing up as hundreds of dragons emerged to the sky, each carrying a woman warrior. And like little droplets of rain, they jumped from the dragons to the earth, where they landed on their 2 feet without missing a beat. King Ormond, Quang's seductive voice hissed through the commotion. You certainly have a handsome welcoming committee. Her warriors came to stand behind her as my men watched with hungry eyes at the long, slender legs exposed from their armors. Each woman had seduction written in their eyes, and my men were feeding off on it. Kwang, you have quite the entrance. She smiled. It will be a memory you will never forget. Now, where is this ghost ship? I pointed behind her, and she turned, signaling her woman to follow her. I got off my horse and trailed after her with Ulrich by my side. The rest of the men were ordered to stay behind until called for. She came to stand inches from the ship, and then turned around to me. Come with me, my king. Whatever lurks in here is for you and I to find out together. It might make a good place for you to gift me the price I desire. Ulrich shook his head. No, my king, I do not trust her. Ulrich, stay with the men. I will be fine. The woman warriors all held stance as I walked past them, and Kwang suddenly grabbed my waist and jumped, landing on the ship in a single movement. She let me go, and the sudden shift of balance threw me off guard where I lost my ground. She reached out and grabbed my arm, pulling me closer to her. My king, are you well? She asked. I pulled away from her. I am now. She smiled, and that was when we heard it. A soft singing echoed through the walls, faint at first, and then louder and louder, as if knowing someone was on board and they were seeking help. Her eyes glowed and fangs sprouted from her teeth as a desire formed in her eyes. Ooh, there is something here on this ship that is calling out for me. And with a growl, she kicked the doors open, and we entered what looked like a prison cell. How had I missed this the first time I set foot on board? It seemed to be hidden, and if Quang hadn't kicked the doors open, I would have never found it. There were barrel after barrel of what looked like intestines with maggots crawling like little white rice and a smell that made me gag. Small, intricate design knives used for removing flesh hung on the wall, with jars full of floating severed fingers and even fetuses of all stage developments. What in God's name is this? I asked. The singing was heard again, and this time I could understand the lyrics very well. My heart is torn from the sight of your absence. Call me away to the world of wonders, my prince, and away I shall wander and wander until our paths meet, where our hearts shall once again beat as one. Hello? I called out. The singing stopped abruptly, and then we heard feet scurrying and laughter began bouncing off the walls, mixed with sobs. Help me! Help me! Help me! The cries felt like struggles of someone dying, and Kwang hissed, and suddenly her tongue came out as long as a whip and lashed against the wall, where it crumbled down and revealed an old man with white hair, wearing a black robe, his hands gnarled and his eyes an icy blue. And in his hands was the head of a woman whose tongue was about to be ripped out, and I realized it was her who had been singing. Kwang let out a blood-curdling scream and lashed her tongue out as the man captured it with one hand and took a bite. I removed my sword and swung, cutting his hand from his wrist, and it fell to the ground where he howled and he began to lick his wound, blood gurgling from the opened flesh, as Kwang retracted her tongue back into place. You devil! How dare you come into my kingdom and wreak havoc? Leave this instant before I kill you, I cried. The man laughed, and then he said, Wreak havoc? Do you not know who stands besides you, my king? If you want to be afraid, you should look at her and not me. Leave, and take your plague with you, I cried. He limped forward and gave me a strange glare. Plague? I did not set plague to your kingdom, my king. I came quietly and asked not to be bothered. I just needed somewhere quiet to perform my rituals. What you have here is sickening. It is inhuman, I cried. Yes, it is. But it is not me who has caused the plague in your town. Did you or did you not receive a donation of lamb from the town butcher day before I arrived? I thought long and hard, and my memory was jogged by all the death around me. I couldn't answer him, and he knew it. His smile widened, and he replied, Let me refresh your memory, my king. The butcher's daughter had a wedding with a boy from the southern lands. They offered the body of a baby lamb to your kingdom as celebration. But that flesh was injected with death to feed your kind, to rid of you forever. As a king, you are caught the brute in battle by an imbecile in mind. The butcher has disappeared, hasn't he? And so has his daughter, and only The villagers are the ones who carry this plague, am I not right, you my king? The ones who are beyond the palace walls, such as yourself and your beautiful queen, remain just fine. I lowered my sword as his eyes glowed suddenly, and then he shifted his gaze to Kwang. Evil witch, he hissed. Your spells do not work with me. Kwang laughed, and then she jumped to him and clutched his throat with one hand, pushing him down to the ground. Witch or not, evil or not, you are on your knees in front of me. That tells me I am something you desire. You have been trailing my scent for years, old fool, and my tongue turned you away. All these years, and the anger still sits lively in your heart. You will be rejected once again. And this time I should take the little raisins you call manhood down with you. Enough! I cried. Let him go! She turned and gave me an evil glare, but released him and shoved him off, coming back to stand beside me. I need you to pack up your ship and leave. You are not welcomed here. By the time we are off your ship, you better start heading back to where you came from. He laughed and bowed. As you wish, Your Majesty. But if I were you, the one you need to fear is standing beside you. And with one swift move, Kwang transformed herself to a giant troll and began pulling his body parts to eat. Thank you for tuning in. Chapter 3 will be out shortly.
Aren't you tired of the drama? You use your words like they are knives. I don't need that type of drama and trying to be tough all the daytime. You try to make yourself feel better by taking me down. Once I fell, but now I'm strong. I'm ready for the rematch.